So hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now Ceramic Speed are at it again, and I've called this video even more chain efficiency, and that'll become clear in a minute. But Ceramic Speed have just applied for a patent for a new type of chain technology, but actually it's not new. If any of you have got an internal combustion engine, you've probably got this kind of technology in your car if your car has a timing chain as opposed to a cam belt. Anyway, I think they've done something different to get around existing automotive patents from the likes of companies like Borg Warner, one of the oldest automotive companies in the world that supply kind of drivetrain components to the automotive industry. This type of chain technology is also seen quite largely in the automation and robotics industry. But I think Ceramic Speed is doing something slightly different with it to get it protectable, licensable, and also make it suitable for bike applications. So as we'll see, just before we delve any further, this is kind of the most basic picture I can show you of their new technology or what they're proposing in their patent application. And it's a different take on a chain drive system. Now, normally in bikes we have what we call roller chains, and that's actually a bit of a misleading name because roller chains aren't actually rolling at all. They're more kind of sliding elements, which is why Ceramic Speed are trying to improve on that, because the sliding element is what gives rise to the friction. Now, I've called this video even more chain efficiency because even with those sliding elements in roller chains, like we see here, this is a Dura-Ace 11-speed chain, they're still very efficient. So we are chasing like single digit or 0.5% in efficiency now. And, with all the drawbacks of roller chains in bikes, they are probably the most efficient drivetrain method that we have available. In my new mountain bike, I'm buying a new mountain bike soon, I've considered belt drives, I've considered pinion gearboxes, I've considered all the kind of planetary or epicyclic gearboxes that are out there on the market. But because I'm still, I would say, a kind of performance-orientated cyclist, I don't like those systems because of the lack of efficiency. A decent, well-maintained chain drive, immersive wax, clean, can be 99% efficient, and at the moment we don't have anything better than that. But Ceramic Speed are chasing even that 1% of efficiency by developing something new. Now, this, going back to roller chains, this is basically what we have at the moment. We've got the outer plates, the inner plates, the rollers, and traditionally they're called bushings, but these are actually part of the inner plates now, these little stubs which locate the rollers. Now, between all these components, as the chain articulates over the cogs, there's friction. Now, it's not rolling friction, it's sliding friction. Like these things all slide and rub against each other, and friction there is mitigated by lubrication and cleanliness, but it's not perfect. They do slide. So you've got the majority of the sliding friction between the pin, which goes through the middle, and the roller, or the bush. And then you've got sliding friction between the roller and the inner plate, and then you've got sliding friction between the inner plate and the outer plate. All that adds up to quite a lot of friction under chain tension as well. Obviously, the higher the chain tension, the higher power you're pedaling with, the greater the friction. There's nothing really you can do to get around that. That said, they're still pretty efficient. They're still pretty good. Even though contamination in rolling chains is a thing, of course it is, that's why chains wear, but actually the tolerances that they're made with, the clearance tolerances, are so well refined now, and that, weirdly, ironically, which we'll come on to in another video, goes against the efficiency. So the tighter tolerance chains out there on the market actually are slightly less efficient. So that's just an overview of the rolling chain principle. It's all sliding. There's no rolling elements in there really, and the friction, although low, can be reduced. So Ceramic Speed are claiming they've done something new. Well, they're not, I think, but they've had to change their approach to this type of chain to get around existing patents and existing technology. So like I said, if you've got a timing chain in your car, more often than not it's using this rocker joint technology, and that's what Ceramic Speed are trying to get onto, is the rocker joint technology, to do away with the pin and the roller and the bushing and that sliding friction. They're actually going for rocking elements that will have a line contact instead of a sliding contact, and that reduces noise, it reduces friction. It can reduce friction and noise quite a lot. And this technology works really well in automotive applications, in timing chains, in conveyors, in automation, in factories, but it tends to work very well in high cleanliness environments, particularly in a timing chain in the car. It's pretty much a sealed system. No dirt or dust should get into there. Same in a factory if you've got automation systems, linear actuators and stuff like that, conveyors. It's kind of a high cleanliness environment. Now, the way it works is, instead of having the pin and the roller going through the middle, you've basically got these very accurately profiled rockers, and as the chain articulates around the cog, the rocking elements roll on each other like that, and they only have a line contact at one time. So there's, in theory, zero sliding. There'll always be a bit because of tolerances and stuff and vibration. but in theory, there's no sliding friction, so the whole friction of the system can be reduced. And they're used in cars. I mean, these last in cars for 100,000 miles without need adjusting or without needing replacing. Obviously, in cars, you do have like automatic chain tensioners to take up any clearances. But in theory, they last a seriously long time. They're very, very quiet. You don't often hear your timing chain in your car unless it's really worn or the guides are worn. And they can last a very long time. Now, the problem I see with them doing it in the bicycle application is that the bicycle application, particularly on mountain bikes, is a really dirty environment. You've got dust, you've got grit all the time, you've got weather, and there's just so many open orifices here between the rocking elements for ingress, basically. And the way that I think Ceramic Speed have got around the existing automotive patterns is, instead of having the 2 rocking pins like you would in kind of like this Borg-Warner chain, they've gone for sort of 3 rocking elements. They've got 1 on each side, which are located fixed kind of inside the chain links. And then there's a floating element, which is this kind of lozenge-shaped, floating metal piece in the middle. And I think by using 3 elements rather than 2, that's how they've got around the existing IP. The problem with this is they won't be able to use it on traditional cassettes and cogs and chain rings, because with a rocker joint style chain, the pitch of the chain does actually change slightly, and that's the main drawback. So as the rocking pins articulate, the gap, the literal gap between one link and the next link, so we call that the pitch, will actually change slightly. So these type of silent drive chains or rocker drive chains, whatever you want to call them, do need special profile cogs and gear teeth to work properly. The other thing is, traditionally, these rocker joint chains can only articulate in one direction, so they can only bend in one way. Now, in a bike, as long as it's not a single speed, of course, that can't happen because you've got derailleur. It needs to actually fold back the other way and articulate the other way because of the design of our, derailleurs, which we've had for ages. So Ceramic Speed have got around that by also using this kind of triple rocker with the central lozenge style. So that chain can articulate either way. But I still think the pitch will be adjusted, which is technically not what you want, because it means you have to have a complete custom gear train for it to work on. Now, in reality, even a roller joint chain like a Shimano chain, the pitch is adjustable because of clearances, because of assembly clearances. It has to be slightly adjustable, but it has a nominal kind of range, and that range gets bigger. The pitch will get bigger as your chain wears, but they can be very silent, very efficient. But I do believe the problem that Ceramic Speed are going to face is how to block out ingress from these rolling elements, because going back to the roller chain for a minute, yes, there is clearance in there, but really, when you've got a really good immersive wax or a very good lube on this system, the thing is actually quite well sealed. If you like a really nice immersive wax job, it kind of, the rollers and the bushings and the pins kind of create little weather barriers with that wax or that lubrication, and they do remain fairly clean. The problem I see with this Ceramic Speed system is, how do they keep the dirt out of these open orifices? Because these are quite large, these open orifices between the kind of fixed rocker and the floating rocker in the middle, the lozenge-shaped one. If there's any grit that gets in there, it won't be able to get out, and the clearances in there are going to be much bigger than the pin and roller clearances that we get in roller chains. So it's a nice idea. I don't know where they're going to go with it in terms of, are they developing their own drivetrain to work with this? Are they developing their own gear set? Or is this going to be part of a fully enclosed system, maybe with a epicyclic gear train, something sealed like a timing chain in a car? I'm not sure. But it's nice to see they're chasing that kind of 1% of drivetrain friction, but the margins up there are so slim. I think, like I said, I've considered new options for my new mountain bike, whether it be belt drive or pinion gearbox or whatever, and I just keep coming back to the good old chain and derailleur. I think it's been refined. The production is there. We've got some seriously good quality materials in, Dura-Ace and YBN chains and stuff. I can't imagine this being worth the development cost to chase, single-digit watts on drivetrain efficiency. But I might be wrong. Anyway, the patent's out there. I'll leave a link to the patent application in the description. Just want to do a real quick shout out to Tom Hagen Automation for supplying me with the immersive wax. You want to get into immersive waxing for a seriously clean chain and prolonged chain life, check out Tom's website. We both used to work in the robotics industry. Don't actually know of him, but it's pretty cool to see he's brought his lubrication experience from gearboxes over to bikes. So yeah, check it out. like I said before, thanks to everyone who supported me on Patreon. Don't have to join the Patreon community, just pressing subscribe on this video will be enough. And I'll leave the likes up to you. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next one.